The big meeting room was full of alien creatures from all over the galaxy. In the middle of the room, 3 humans floated in a special gravity field. They wore blue uniforms that looked very different from the glowing walls around them. Commander Jiwan stood in front. Her dark eyes looked at all the aliens sitting in rows above them. Next to her was Dr. Hyunwoo, who was checking his translator device. Lieutenant Sumin stood on the other side, ready to write down everything that happened. A crystal being called High Adjudicator Threxus raised one of its many arms. The room became quiet. This creature was in charge of the meeting, and its body made light shine in ways that hurt human eyes. Threxus spoke through a machine that changed its words into sounds humans could understand. It said that humans had broken the peace treaty. It said humans were moving into too many star systems too fast. It said the human military was too big and too scary. It said humans refused to let the council watch what they were doing. Jiwan felt her jaw get tight. She spoke in a calm but firm voice. She told Threxus that humans had only settled on planets where no one else lived. She said humans had not threatened anyone. She explained that their military was only for protecting themselves. Bug-like aliens called Vorkans started laughing. Their mouths clicked together as they made fun of the humans. They said humans built warships that could destroy whole planets. They said humans would not share their fast space travel technology. They said humans took resources from worlds and called it their right. Dr. Hyunwoo stepped forward. He tried to explain that humans did share technology through the proper channels. He said humans traded fairly with other species. He started to say that if other aliens had trouble with quantum physics, humans had offered to teach them. Threxus cut him off. It said the council had talked about this problem for 3 days. It said every species in the council agreed. Humans had to accept something called the Limitation Protocol. A hologram appeared in front of the humans. It was a document with many rules. Sumin read it quickly and her eyes got very wide. She could not believe what she was seeing. Jiwan read the document slowly. Her voice became very calm, which was dangerous. She said the protocol would limit humans to only 20 star systems. It would make the human military smaller than it was before they met aliens. It would require council approval before humans could invent any new technology, and it would put council watchers on Earth itself. Threxus said yes, that was correct. It was for the safety of the galaxy. Sumin whispered that this was not fair. This was slavery with a nice name. This was the council trying to control everything humans did. Jiwan looked straight at Threxus. She asked what would happen if humans said no. The room got colder. Threxus explained that the council would stop all trade with humans. No human ship could use any trade route. Human colonies would be cut off from each other. Human star systems would be surrounded by council ships. Then Threxus said something even worse. If humans tried to fight the blockade, 300 species would send their fleets to make humans obey. The combined military of 300 alien civilizations would come to human space. Hyunwoo said one word quietly. War, Threxus corrected him. Not war, pacification, it said humans were young and reckless. This was for their own protection. The crystal being leaned closer and said, humans had 72 Earth hours to accept the protocol. Then it told them to leave. The gravity field turned off and let the humans go. As they walked out of the chamber, Jiwan could feel the weight of 300 civilizations pressing down on 3 lonely humans. She felt like the whole galaxy was trying to crush them. In the shuttle flying back to their diplomatic ship, no one spoke for a long time. Finally, Sumin broke the silence. She said the council was trying to put humans in a cage. Jiwan stared out the window at space. There were millions of stars out there. Most of those stars were controlled by species who had just said humans were too dangerous to be free. She spoke quietly. She said the council did not understand humans at all. They thought humans would break under pressure. They thought fear would make humans obey. Hyunwoo asked if humans would obey. Jiwan saw her reflection in the window. She smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. It was sharp and dangerous. She said the aliens were about to learn the first rule about humanity. The harder someone tries to break humans, the stronger humans become. She turned on her neural link. This was a device in her brain that let her send messages. The message went out across quantum channels to Earth, to all the human colonies, and to every human ship in space. It was only 4 words, but those words would change everything. They want a war. Back on the diplomatic ship, the 3 humans sat in the conference room. They knew that in 72 hours they had to give an answer that would decide the future of the human race. Would humans accept being controlled? Would they accept limits on where they could go and what they could do? Would they accept alien watchers on Earth? Or would humans say no and face the combined might of 300 alien species? Ji-won looked at her companions. Hyunwoo was a brilliant scientist who understood alien cultures. Sumin was a careful diplomat who never missed a detail. Both of them looked scared but determined. She knew what her answer would be. She had known from the moment Threxus started making demands. Humans did not respond well to ultimatums. Humans did not accept chains no matter how comfortable those chains might be. Throughout human history, whenever someone tried to control humans, humans fought back. When kings tried to rule them, humans created democracy. When dictators tried to enslave them, humans went to war. When nature tried to kill them, humans invented technology. The Galactic Council was about to learn what every human child knew from history books. You could not break the human spirit. You could not make humans give up their freedom. You could threaten them, surround them, and try to force them to obey. But humans would always find a way to fight back. Ji-won stood up and walked to the window. She looked at the stars again. Somewhere out there, the council was celebrating. They thought they had won. They thought humans would have no choice but to accept the protocol. They were wrong. In 72 hours, the Galactic Council would get their answer. And that answer would shake the foundations of their 3,000-year-old empire. The answer would be no. The United Earth Assembly held an emergency meeting. Holographic images of colony governors appeared all around the central chamber in Geneva. Military leaders stood along the walls at attention. In the middle, Secretary General Minho addressed the entire human species about their greatest crisis. Minho spoke with a steady voice even though the situation was very serious. He said 48 hours remained before they had to give their answer. The council expected humans to submit and obey. Admiral Tae-hyung stepped forward. His face looked tired and grim from many years of military service. He explained that if humans refused, the combined council fleet would arrive within days. Their intelligence report suggested over 10,000 capital ships. Humans only had 247 ships. Governor Yoonji from the Mars colony spoke up. She said the numbers were not good for humans. But she also said that slavery was worse than bad numbers. Minho nodded and asked Dr. Soo-jin to explain their options. She was the head of human strategic research. Dr. Soo-jin appeared larger in the holographic projection. Behind her, huge quantum computers hummed as they calculated different possibilities for war. She said her team had been running scenarios since Commander Ji-won sent her message. Soo-jin explained that the council believed three things about humanity. First, they thought humans were technologically inferior. Second, they thought humans had no experience with strategy. Third, they thought humans valued their lives more than their freedom. Admiral Tae-hyung growled that the council was wrong about all three things. Soo-jin agreed. She said humans were aggressive but in a smart way. She said humans understood something the council had forgotten. Real civilization needed not just cooperation, but also the freedom to disagree. She continued explaining. The council saw human quantum drives and thought humans got lucky with the technology. They did not know that humans had figured it out from basic principles in only 20 years. Most alien species took thousands of years to do the same thing. The council saw the small human fleet and assumed humans were weak. They did not know that every human warship carried secret experimental weapons. Soo-jin showed a display of human military weapons. It showed standard fusion missiles, railguns, and plasma cannons. Then she changed the screen and new information appeared that shocked everyone in the room. She spoke quietly about Project Prometheus. These were antimatter-catalyzed fusion warheads. One missile could crack a moon in half. Humans had 600 of them. The entire chamber became silent. No one had known about these weapons, Soo-jin continued. She described Project Helios, which used directed stellar mass ejection. Humans had learned to weaponize solar flares from stars. She mentioned Project Athena, which was AI-driven tactical networks that could coordinate fleet actions faster than any biological intelligence. Then she paused before revealing Project Exodus. Humans had not colonized 20 systems like the Council believed. Humans had colonized 47 systems. The other colonies were hidden using gravitational lensing technology that bent light around them. Each hidden colony had factories that could build hundreds of warships. Humans had been preparing for this moment since first contact with aliens. Minho leaned back in his chair. He asked why he had not been told about all this. Admiral Taehyung explained it was need-to-know information. After the Council tried to dictate terms during initial trade negotiations, military leaders knew peaceful coexistence might not be possible. Humanity had never done well when given ultimatums. Governor Daiho from Europa asked if humans actually had a fighting chance. Sujin answered bluntly. No, humans did not have a fighting chance. But humans did have a chance to make the cost of conquering them so high that the Council would negotiate instead. If it came to total war, humanity would lose. The numbers were simply against humans. Minho asked what she recommended. Sujin's expression became hard and determined. She said humans should call the Council's bluff. Refuse the protocol. When the Council sent their fleets to blockade human space, humans should show them that humanity does not break. Humans adapt, overcome, and make their enemies regret thinking humans were weak. The assembly erupted in heated debate. Some people demanded diplomacy and peaceful negotiations. Others called for immediate military mobilization and preparation for war. But as the hours passed and votes were counted, a consensus emerged from the chaos. Humanity would not submit. Humanity would not break under pressure. And if the galaxy wanted war, humanity would teach them the oldest lesson from Earth's bloody history. Never corner a predator. Never trap something that knows how to fight. Minho stood before all the assembled representatives of humanity. He spoke words that would echo across the stars and change the galaxy forever. He ordered them to send a response to the Galactic Council. The message was only 3 words. We refuse absolutely. As the message burst across quantum relays toward the Council homeworlds, Admiral Taehyung activated the fleet-wide alert. On Earth, Mars, Europa, Titan, and in 47 hidden colonies, shipyards roared to life. Factories began running at full capacity. Scientists activated secret weapons programs. Soldiers reported to their stations. Humanity was going to war. In homes across Earth and its colonies, families gathered around screens to hear the news. Parents held their children. Lovers embraced. Old veterans nodded grimly, remembering their own wars. Everyone understood what this meant. They were outnumbered. They were surrounded. The entire galaxy had turned against them. By all logical calculations, they should lose. But logic had never stopped humans before. In the cold mathematics of space and war, every human who heard the news felt the same primal surge of emotion. It was not fear. It was not despair. It was defiance. It was the ancient human response to being threatened. Let them come. The Council had made a fundamental mistake. They had studied human history and seen war and violence. They had concluded humans were primitive and aggressive. But they had missed the most important lesson from all those wars and conflicts. Humans had survived every attempt to destroy them. Humans had overcome every obstacle in their path. When glaciers covered their world, humans invented fire and clothing. When diseases killed millions, humans invented medicine. When tyrants tried to enslave them, humans invented revolution. The Council thought they could control humans with fear and superior numbers. They thought wrong. Admiral Taehyung stood on the bridge of the Churchill, humanity's flagship. He looked at the star charts showing Council fleet positions. He looked at the tactical displays showing human military assets. He looked at the faces of his crew. Every single person on that ship knew they might die in the coming conflict. Every single person had chosen to be there anyway. That was the human spirit the Council did not understand. Humans did not fight because they thought they would win. Humans fought because they refused to lose. There was a difference. The countdown had begun. In less than 72 hours, the Council fleet would arrive at Sol system expecting submission. Instead, they would find something they had not encountered in 3,000 years of enforcing galactic peace. They would find humans ready to fight. The Council fleet arrived at the Sol system exactly 72 hours after humanity refused their demands. 10,000 warships appeared from quantum transit all at once. Their formations were perfect. Their weapons were ready. Their purpose was clear. High Adjudicator Threxus sent a message on all human communication frequencies. The message said this was humanity's final opportunity. If humans accepted the limitation protocol now, the blockade would become a protective barrier instead of a prison. But if humans refused again, their civilization would be isolated until they agreed to terms. Threxus said the Council did not want bloodshed. They only wanted to ensure galactic stability. Aboard the UESS Churchill, which was humanity's flagship, Admiral Tai-hyung watched the enemy fleet deploy. He studied their tactics with an experienced eye. Commander Young-ho was his executive officer. Young-ho observed that the Council was using a standard containment formation. They had overlapping fields of fire and layered defense zones. It was textbook Council doctrine straight from their military manuals. Tae-hyung murmured that it was predictable. The Council had been using the same tactics for 2,000 years. He ordered his crew to send the human response. The Churchill's communications array activated. This time the response was different. Commander Ji-won spoke for humanity, and her voice carried the weight of an entire species. Ji-won thanked High Adjudicator Threxus for their concern about galactic stability. She said humans also appreciated the impressive show of force with 10,000 ships. However, she said humans must decline the generous offer of imprisonment. She paused, and then her voice became steel. She said the Council assumed humans would break under economic pressure. They assumed fear would change human minds. They assumed wrong. Humans do not surrender. Humans do not submit. Humans adapt, overcome, and win, Ji-won continued. She said if the Council wished to blockade humans, they should go ahead. But they needed to understand something. Every second the Council spent containing humans was a second humans spent learning how to break free. And when humans did break free, the galaxy would remember who chose this path. The transmission ended. Aboard the Council command carrier called Eternal Harmony, Threxus pulsed with irritation. Its crystalline body changed colors as it processed the human response. The Vorkan military commander named Kreshtal clicked its mandibles. It said defiance was expected from primitives. Humans would change their minds when starvation began. Perhaps 3 months, maybe 4 months before their colonies failed. Threxus ordered the blockade to begin. No ships could go in or out of human space. No supplies, no trade. The Council would let silence and scarcity teach humans humility. For 3 weeks, the blockade held strong. Council ships maintained their positions with mechanical precision. Human vessels tried to break through 17 times. Each time, overwhelming force turned them back. No blood was shed because the Council prided itself on proportional response. But something was wrong. Fleet Coordinator Mexcor reported during the weekly tactical briefing. He said humans were not weakening. Resource consumption had not declined. Industrial output was actually increasing. Human military vessels were more active than ever. Threxus said this was impossible. Humans were cut off from all trade routes. Mexcor confirmed their sensors showed it was true. The human colonies showed no signs of deprivation or suffering. In fact, the colonies appeared to be thriving. What the Council did not know was the truth. They could not detect the 27 hidden colonies scattered through gravitationally lensed systems. Each hidden colony was a fully independent industrial base. Each had years of stockpiled resources, and each was connected to the known human territories through experimental quantum tunneling technology that bypassed normal space entirely. While the Council watched the front door, humanity was rebuilding through the back door. Then came the message that changed everything. 3 months into the blockade, human transmissions suddenly ceased. No more defiant broadcast, no more attempted breakouts, just complete silence. Threxus announced to the Council that humans had finally accepted reality. It ordered diplomatic teams to prepare to negotiate surrender terms, but on the 4th month, day 17, the silence broke. Every Council vessel received the same transmission at the same time. Every ship, every station, every world, Admiral Tae-hyung's face appeared on their displays. His expression was cold as the void of space. Tae-hyung said the blockade had taught humans something valuable. It showed them exactly how the Council fought. Cautiously, predictably, bureaucratically. The Council followed rules humans never agreed to. They limited themselves with doctrines humans never accepted. He smiled and thanked them for the lesson. Now, he said, let humans show the Council how humans fight. Behind him, tactical displays showed something impossible. New human ships were appearing. Hundreds of them emerged from quantum tunnels that should not exist, and every single one was broadcasting active weapons locks on Council vessels. Taehyung spoke quietly but firmly. The blockade ends now. Stand down or humans will break through. The choice was the Council's. For the first time in 3,000 years of Council history, their fleet faced an enemy that refused to play by their rules. In that moment, High Adjudicator Threxus realized with cold certainty that the Council had made a terrible mistake. They had not caged humanity. They had cornered them, and cornered predators were the most dangerous of all. Threxus looked at the tactical displays showing 312 new human vessels. Combined with the original fleet, humans now had 559 ships. Still badly outnumbered, still facing 10,000 Council warships. And yet somehow the balance of power felt different. The humans were not bluffing. Their weapons were charging. Their formations were aggressive. Their intent was clear. They would fight their way out, and the Council would bleed for every meter of space. Kreshtal clicked nervously and suggested they open fire first. Establish dominance. Show humans their resistance was futile, but Threxus hesitated. Something in the human admiral's eyes suggested this was exactly what they wanted. The Council had spent 3,000 years enforcing peace through overwhelming force. But they had never faced an opponent who welcomed violence. Threxus tried to send a message offering negotiations. But before the transmission could be completed, the human flagship opened fire. The blockade was over. The war had begun, and the Council was about to learn why in all of human history no cage had ever held humanity for long. Kreshtal insisted the humans were bluffing. Its mandibles clicked nervously as it spoke. Humans did not have enough ships for a sustained assault. This was just psychological warfare designed to scare the Council. High Adjudicator Threxus studied the tactical displays carefully. 312 new human vessels had appeared in Sol System over the past hour. Each one materialized through some form of transit technology that Council sensors could not track. This brought the total human fleet to 559 ships. Humans were still badly outnumbered. 10,000 Council ships against 500 human ships seemed like suicide. And yet something felt wrong. Fleet Coordinator Mexcor reported that human weapons signatures were unusual. They showed high energy concentrations and antimatter reactions configured in ways the Council had never seen before. Threxus tried to dismiss this as primitive experimentation. It started to say they should offer negotiations and perhaps reach a compromise. The Churchill opened fire before Threxus could finish speaking. 12 missiles launched from humanity's flagship. Each one accelerated to speeds close to the speed of light within seconds. Council point defense systems tracked them and calculated intercept vectors. They prepared standard countermeasures that had worked for thousands of years. Then the missiles detonated. They did not explode near their targets like normal missiles. These warheads triggered at the precise moment when antimatter containment met fusion ignition at temperatures found only inside stars. The explosions were not just bright, they were miniature suns. Each one released energy equal to a small star's output for a fraction of a second. 4 Council dreadnoughts simply ceased to exist. They did not explode or burn. They just disappeared in bursts of light. 8 more ships suffered catastrophic damage that left them floating dead in space. The shockwaves rippled through the blockade formation like thunder through paper. Threxus's voice broke for the first time in its 2,000-year life. It cried out that this was impossible. That kind of explosive yield and those types of reactions should not be possible. Mexcor reported with a voice tight with fear. All human vessels were firing now. The entire human fleet had opened up with weapons the Council did not understand and could not defend against. The battle lasted 18 hours. The Council fleet had been trained in containment actions and peacekeeping operations. They were used to dealing with pirates and rebellious colonies. Suddenly they faced an enemy that fought with the desperation of the cornered and the precision of the prepared. Human ships darted through Council formations using quantum tunneling for micro-jumps. They appeared behind Council vessels before targeting systems could adjust. Human AI networks coordinated attacks with inhuman speed. They exploited every weakness in Council doctrine that had remained unchanged for millennia. And those weapons, those terrible, beautiful weapons. Project Prometheus turned capital ships into expanding clouds of superheated plasma. Project Helios used captured solar wind to blind sensor arrays and superheat hulls until they failed. Project Athena predicted Council movements 3 steps ahead, turning every engagement into an ambush. Aboard the UESS Churchill, Admiral Taehyung watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. Commander Young-ho reported losses with mechanical precision. Young-ho said 47 human ships had been destroyed, and 93 were damaged. But the Council formation was breaking apart. The Vorkan contingent was retreating. The Mex Corps cruisers were requesting permission to withdraw from the battle. Taehyung ordered his forces to let them go. Humans were not there to commit genocide. They were there to prove a point. Lieutenant Bora at the communications station looked up. She said they were receiving a priority transmission from the Eternal Harmony. Threxus was requesting a parley and immediate ceasefire. Taehyung allowed himself a cold smile. Of course, Threxus wanted to talk now. He ordered the transmission to be put on screen. The High Adjudicator's crystalline form appeared on the view screen. For the first time, its usual arrogance was gone. In its place was shock, confusion, and the beginning of understanding. Threxus spoke about the human weapons, tactics, and technology. It asked if all of this had been hidden all along. Taehyung replied that it was not hidden. It was simply not advertised. The Council assumed humanity was weak because humans chose restraint. They mistook caution for inability. That was their first mistake, he continued. Their second mistake was thinking fear would control humans. Humans do not respond to fear by surrendering. They respond by becoming more dangerous. And the Council's third mistake was believing their own propaganda about galactic stability. Taehyung leaned forward toward the screen. He said the galaxy was not stable because the Council enforced peace. It was stagnant because the Council enforced conformity. They had created a civilization of sheep and then wondered why no one could protect themselves from wolves. Threxus's crystalline structure pulsed with emotion. It was anger, but also something like respect. It said humans had destroyed 217 vessels. Thousands had been killed, all to avoid accepting limits. Taehyung corrected this statement. Humans had destroyed ships, yes, but they had targeted drives, weapons, and command centers, not life support systems. The Council casualties were a fraction of what they could have been. But yes, humans had killed thousands. Did Threxus know why? He stood up so his reflection was sharp on the view screen. Taehyung explained. Because accepting the Council protocol would kill millions of humans. Slowly. Through stagnation. Through lost potential. Through the death of the human spirit. The Council had offered comfortable chains. Humans chose dangerous freedom instead. Now Threxus had a choice, Taehyung said. Order the fleet to withdraw. Acknowledge humanity's sovereignty. Begin real negotiations between equals. Or escalate this conflict into a war that would make today's losses look trivial. He gestured to the tactical display. It now showed the hidden human colonies revealing themselves. 47 independent industrial worlds appeared on the map. Each was capable of producing hundreds of warships. Taehyung spoke clearly. The Council came to Sol system with 10,000 ships thinking that was overwhelming force. Humans let them think that because humans wanted the Council to understand something fundamental. Humans do not just survive pressure. Humans thrive on it. Every challenge makes humans stronger. Every enemy teaches humans new lessons. He thanked Threxus. Thank you for the blockade. Thank you for forcing humans to reveal their capabilities. And thank you for teaching humans exactly how the Galactic Council fights. Taehyung smiled. It was a predator's smile, sharp and dangerous. Now humans know how to win, he said. The transmission paused. Threxus looked at the displays showing human industrial capacity. It looked at the casualty reports from the brief battle. It looked at the faces of its military commanders who now showed fear. For 3,000 years, the Galactic Council had been the ultimate authority. No one questioned them. No one defied them. No one won against them until now. Threxus made its decision. It ordered the fleet to stand down and begin withdrawal. It agreed to negotiations. Real negotiations between equals, not demands from masters to servants. The blockade was lifted. The war was over before it truly began, and the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months after the Battle of Sol, a treaty was signed in neutral space. The location was a newly constructed diplomatic station called Unity. 300 species sent delegates to witness this historic moment. Humanity sent Commander Ji-won, who had been promoted to ambassador along with Secretary General Minho. The treaty was called the Treaty of Mutual Respect. It recognized 47 human star systems as sovereign territory. It established fair trade protocols. It created something called associate status that 6 other species immediately applied for. But more importantly, The treaty changed something fundamental about the Galactic Council itself. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Council admitted it could be wrong. On Earth, in a small apartment in Seoul, a young woman named Seo-Yun watched the signing ceremony on her holographic display. She was 17 years old and studying quantum physics at university. She dreamed of the stars. As Ambassador Ji-won placed her signature on the treaty, Seo-Yun felt something shift inside her chest. It was hope. It was possibility. It was the sudden, overwhelming certainty that the galaxy was no longer forbidden to humans. Her father, Dong-Yun, sat beside her. He had been a colony engineer during the blockade, working around the clock to keep supply lines running.
He asked what she was thinking. Seo-Yun said she wanted to be out there among the stars.
Not just as a colonist or a scientist. She wanted to explore. She wanted to meet other species and learn their histories and share human stories. She wanted to show aliens what humanity could be when they were not fighting for survival. Dong-Yun smiled. He told her to do it. That was what humans fought for. The freedom to choose their own path. Across human space, similar conversations were happening everywhere. The blockade and battle had unified humanity in a way nothing else could. Humans had faced an existential threat and survived, not through surrender but through innovation, determination, and sheer stubborn refusal to break. Aboard the UESS Churchill, which now served as the flagship of the newly formed human diplomatic fleet, Admiral Tae-hyung met with his senior staff. Commander Young-ho showed the latest intelligence reports. Young-ho reported that the Council was reforming itself. They had created oversight committees to review their expansion policies. Several species were demanding the same associate status that humans secured. There was talk of technological exchange programs. Actual sharing of research, not the controlled information drip they had before. Tae-hyung said this was good. Competition drives innovation. Maybe humanity's best gift to the galaxy was not their technology. It was their example. Lieutenant Bora at Communications added quietly that they were receiving requests from 3 Council species. These species wanted to study human quantum tunnel technology. They were offering equivalent exchange of their own technologies. Tae-hyung ordered his staff to accept the requests. But he made it clear this was cooperation, not charity. Humans would share because it benefited everyone, not because they were forced to. At Unity Station, Ambassador Ji-won stood before a large window watching ships from hundreds of worlds come and go. Dr. Hyunwoo joined her carrying 2 cups of coffee. Coffee was a human beverage that had become surprisingly popular among certain council species. Hyunwoo asked what she was thinking about. Ji-won took the coffee cup and warmed her hands on it. She said she was thinking about how close they came to real war, not the surgical strikes they managed, but total war. If the Council had pushed harder, if they had been willing to accept massive losses, everything could have been different. Hyunwoo reminded her that the Council did not push harder. Because fundamentally, the Council valued stability over victory. That was always their weakness and humanity's advantage. Ji-won spoke softly. She said humans gambled with the survival of their entire species. If they had been wrong about the Council's response, humans might have been wiped out. Hyunwoo said, but they were not wrong. That was the thing about humanity. Humans were really good at reading their opponents. They had been doing it for millions of years, predicting how predators hunt, how rivals think, how enemies move. It was humanity's superpower. A diplomatic shuttle approached the station. Its hull bore the insignia of the Vorkan hierarchy. Lieutenant Suman's voice came through Ji-won's neural link. Suman said Ambassador Ji-won had a visitor. Kreshtal was requesting a private meeting. Ji-won raised an eyebrow. This was the same Kreshtal who wanted humans exterminated 6 months ago. 20 minutes later, Ji-won sat across from the Vorkan military commander in a small conference room. Kreshtal's mandibles clicked nervously. Ji-won had learned this behavior indicated deep thought among the insectoid species. Kreshtal began by confessing something. When the Vorkans first encountered humans, Kreshtal believed humans were dangerous primitives, aggressive, short-sighted, incapable of the patience required for galactic civilization. Ji-won asked mildly what Kreshtal believed now. Kreshtal said it had been wrong. Humans were aggressive, but strategically so. Humans appeared short-sighted, but were tactically brilliant. And humans understood something the Council forgot. Civilization required not just cooperation, but the freedom to disagree. The Vorkan leaned forward. Its species had applied for associate status. They wished to learn from humans. Not human weapons, because the Vorkans could develop those themselves given time. But they wanted to learn the human mindset. The human refusal to accept limitations. The human ability to innovate under pressure. Jiwan felt something unexpected. Pride. Not in domination, but in inspiration. She said humans would be honored to share what they had learned. But Kreshtal needed to understand something. Becoming more like humans meant accepting conflict as a driver of progress. It meant taking risks. It meant sometimes failing spectacularly. Kreshtal's mandibles clicked in what Jiwan now recognized as a smile. Perhaps that was exactly what the galaxy needed. After the meeting, Jiwan returned to her quarters and activated a secure channel to Earth. Secretary General Minho's face appeared on the screen. He looked exhausted but was smiling. Minho asked how the peace was going. Jiwan said it was going better than they hoped. 6 species had applied for associate status. Trade agreements were being negotiated on equal terms. And the council was actually listening to dissenting voices for the first time in thousands of years. She paused and said they did it. Humans broke through the council's barriers not with conquest, but with sheer stubborn refusal to be conquered. Minho's smile widened. He said that was the human way. Humans do not surrender. Humans do not submit. Humans adapt, overcome, and prove that freedom is worth fighting for. Jiwan asked what happens now. Minho said now humans show the galaxy what they can do when not fighting for survival. They explore. They innovate. They build. They become the species they always knew they could be. Jiwan looked out at the endless stars through her window. She said if someone tries to stop humans again, humans will remind them of the lesson the council just learned. You cannot shatter the human spirit. You can only teach humans new ways to break free. The transmission ended. Jiwan returned to her work drafting treaties, planning exchanges, and building bridges between species that had never considered humanity as anything more than dangerous children. But every night she looked at the stars and remembered the blockade, the battle, and the moment when humanity stood alone against the galaxy and refused to blink. The council had tried to shatter the human spirit with threats, ultimatums, and overwhelming force. They built barriers of law, custom, and military might. And by dawn, every barrier had failed. Not because humanity was the strongest species, not because they had the best weapons or the largest fleet, but because when pushed to the edge, when given the choice between comfortable chains and dangerous freedom, humans would always choose to stand and fight. That was the lesson the galaxy learned. That was the truth now written in the stars. Humanity does not break. Humanity does not bend. Humanity endures, adapts, and overcomes, no matter the cost, no matter the odds, no matter who stands in the way. And that truth would echo through the ages, a testament to the species that refused to be caged. A story told across 1,000 worlds about the day the stars trembled and humanity said no.